In 2012, a relatively unknown Chinese politician stepped onto the world stage. Western leaders weren't impressed. The CIA described him as cautious. Analysts called him a safe pair of hands, a compromise candidate who wouldn't rock the boat. 12 years later, that same man had dismantled term limits, purged hundreds of rivals, crushed protests in Hong Kong, and made himself the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. So what happened? How did Xi Jinping, a man who spent years shoveling pig manure in a remote village, become the undisputed ruler of the world's most populous nation? This is the full story. To understand Xi Jinping, you have to go back to a cave. In 1969, Xi was 15 years old, the son of a revolutionary hero who had fallen out of favor with Mao. His father, Xi Jinping, had been purged, imprisoned, and publicly humiliated during the Cultural Revolution. The family was in ruins. Young Xi was sent to Liangjiahe, a barren, freezing village in rural Shanxi province, as part of Mao's campaign to re-educate urban youth through hard labor. He lived in a cave dwelling. He carried manure. He slept on a flea-infested bed. Most young men sent to the countryside broke. Many fled back to the cities. Xi applied to join the Communist Party 7 times before they accepted him. That persistence tells you everything about the man. By the time he left Liangjiahe 7 years later, he hadn't just survived, he had thrived. He became the village leader. He built a biogas system. He earned the trust of the locals. He had learned the single most important lesson of Chinese politics: endurance is power. Xi's rise through the party ranks was slow, more deliberate, and calculated. He served as a local official in Hebei, then Fujian, then Zhejiang, building a reputation as a pragmatic anti-corruption reformer. He wasn't flashy. He didn't make enemies. He made himself useful. In 2007, something important happened. China's top leadership, the Politburo Standing Committee, needed new blood. Xi was fast-tracked, skipping an entire tier of seniority. Analysts still debate why. Some say it was his family connections. His father had been rehabilitated and was respected by the old guard. Others say the existing factions simply couldn't agree on anyone else, and Xi was the one candidate nobody hated enough to block. He was chosen, in other words, partly because he seemed unthreatening. That was their first mistake. In November 2012, Xi Jinping was formally named General Secretary of the Communist Party. He now controlled the world's largest political organization and its 1.4 billion people. And he moved fast. Within weeks, he launched what he called an anti-corruption campaign. On the surface, it looked like good governance. Underneath, it was something else entirely, a systematic purge of every rival faction inside the party. The numbers are staggering. Over 1 million officials investigated, senior generals arrested, a former security chief, Zhou Yongkang, thrown in prison for life. Bo Xilai, once considered a rival for the top job, sentenced to life in prison. His predecessors, Hu Jintao and Jiang Zemin, had built careers on consensus. You didn't move without the approval of the other factions. Xi tore that system apart. By 2017, at the 19th Party Congress, something unprecedented happened. Xi Jinping thought was written directly into the party's constitution, something only Mao had achieved while still alive. His name was now embedded in the founding document of the Chinese state. He wasn't just the leader anymore, he was the ideology. Here's where it gets truly remarkable. When Deng Xiaoping rebuilt China after Mao's disastrous rule, he put a crucial safeguard in place: term limits. Presidents could serve a maximum of 2 5-year terms. It was designed specifically to prevent another Mao, another single man, accumulating unlimited, unchecked power. In 2018, Xi Jinping abolished those limits. The vote in the National People's Congress was 2,958 in favor, just 2 against, 3 abstentions. In a country of 1.4 billion people, with hundreds of millions of party members, only 5 people were willing to publicly resist. That is not consensus, that is control. Around the same time, he began restructuring the military, placing loyalists in key commands. He tightened control over the internet. He launched a sweeping crackdown in Xinjiang. He oversaw the dismantling of Hong Kong's autonomy. He concentrated more decision-making power in his own hands than any Chinese leader in decades. The man who arrived in Beijing looking like a bureaucrat had, quietly and methodically, made himself a ruler for life. So how did he pull it off without being stopped? 3 reasons. First, the corruption problem was real. China's party was genuinely riddled with graft. When Xi launched his campaign, ordinary Chinese citizens cheered. It gave him a massive reservoir of public legitimacy. And by the time people realized the campaign was also a purge, his position was unassailable. Second, he moved before his opponents could coordinate. Chinese politics runs on factions. The Shanghai clique, the Communist Youth League faction, the princelings. Each assumed the others would push back. None of them did it fast enough. Third, and most importantly, China was getting richer. GDP was growing. Cities were rising from the ground. When a country is prospering, people tolerate a lot. Xi understood something that his predecessors had forgotten. In China, power doesn't flow from consensus. It flows from the perception of inevitability. Once you look unstoppable, you become unstoppable. The boy who shoveled manure in a cave. The politician nobody thought would last. Yin, the leader who rewrote his nation's constitution to keep himself in power indefinitely. Xi Jinping's rise is one of the most remarkable political stories of the 21st century, and it's far from over. If you want to understand the world we're living in right now, you have to understand this man, and now you do.